Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe and this is the news. The main story today, Erik Ten Hag has admitted defeat with Cristiano Ronaldo and is willing to let him leave in January. This is basically coming after all summer saying that Ronaldo wasn't for sale. He wanted to keep him. He was part of his plans. And now we see Jason Burt and James Ducker of The Telegraph, very reliable journalists, saying that Ten Hag will be willing to let Cristiano Ronaldo leave Manchester United should a correct and suitable offer come in for him, which is obviously massive. He's the biggest player at Manchester United. He's arguably the greatest player in the history of football. And it seems as though this sort of experiment, I want to see what I've got. Cristiano Ronaldo is the type of player that he's worked under previous managers. Why couldn't he work under me? Well, it seems as though he cannot work under Erik Ten Hag and he will be allowed to leave in January. This, obviously, we'll get into some more stories as well. We'll talk a little bit about half-time against Manchester City, reports of Lisandro Martinez and Bruno Fernandes leading, I would say team talk, but it sounds like scream talk would be more suitable, shouting at the rest of the team, trying to pick people up for the second half. We'll get into some of that as well as we go along. Get your thoughts in the comments. Cristiano Ronaldo looks set to leave Manchester United. Let's get into this article. Cristiano Ronaldo is eyeing a January exit from Manchester United and Erik Ten Hag will not stand in his way if a suitable offer arrives. As Ten Hag held an inquest at United's Carrington training ground on Monday in which players and staff were encouraged not to pull any punches about Sunday's shambolic 6-3 defeat to Manchester City, Ronaldo's future was again in the spotlight after he was left on the bench. United were accused of showing Ronaldo nothing but respect by the club's former captain Roy Keane, who ridiculed Ten Hag claims that he did not want to bring on the 5 times World Player of the Year out of respect for his career. Having wanted to keep United in when he first took over, Ten Hag has been more relaxed about him leaving ever since the player made it clear he wanted to go. Ronaldo had been keen to join a club that could give him Champions League football, but in summer, the only concrete proposal came from Saudi club Al Hilal. That's the crucial thing there, isn't it? He's willing to go. Ten Hag is now willing to let him leave. But if the only offers that are coming in are from Saudi club Al Hilal, you might have to go to Al Hilal. Get your thoughts in on this in the comments. Personally, it makes sense to me. Like, let's be honest. We watch Manchester United every single week. If you're watching this, you have an opinion on Cristiano Ronaldo. Everyone I spoke to was nothing but excited when he came in. He's still got legs on him. We finished second last season. Bring him in, Sancho in, Varane in. That could be enough to push us to a Premier League title. Maybe even, a Champions League. This is Champions League Varane. Ronaldo's won it 4, 5, 6 times as well. It all made sense then. 18 months on or 15 months on, it's a man who doesn't start for Manchester United, and that isn't even news anymore. Do you remember when Ole left him on the bench and it was in the front page of newspapers? He's on the bench every week now. It's not newsworthy. No one is claiming that he deserves to start on merit. And at this point, he's not even playing based on the fact that his career is too long, storied and full of accolades that he shouldn't be seen in a 6-3 defeat to Manchester City. That isn't the sort of player and the sort of stature and mentality that we need at Manchester United. If Ten Hag is thinking, I can't play him because it looks bad for his career, he can't stay. I'm afraid he can't stay because we need players that can come on 6-0 down against Manchester City and fight and try to get a goal, try to save some sort of face, get a bit, a little bit of pride into that performance like Martial did. And Martial, let's not forget, is someone that over the last 2 years has scored about 5 Premier League goals for Manchester United. He's not exactly someone whose career is on the upward trajectory. And yet you bring him in, he looks energetic, he looks full of life. He comes in and scores 2 goals, winning the penalty for his second goal. Poacher's goal for the first one, picking up on rebounds and deflections and bounces. That's the sort of player United need. And he is a man who has been in the wilderness career-wise for 24 months, Anthony Martial. Just looking at some of the stats of Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously, he is 37 years old and 241 days old. So by the end of the year, he will be 38 years old. Statistically, he's still got a bit going on, let's be honest. He's in the top 25% for non-penalty goals. his shots, his passes completed, these things are all very good. His progressive carries are still very good. But when you look at a modern striker, when you look at the sort of player that Erik Ten Hag wants, pressures, interceptions, blocks, these sorts of things, winning the ball high up the pitch, Cristiano Ronaldo is in the bottom 1% for pressures. That means that 99% of forwards in the top 5 leagues in Europe press more than him. 99%. You literally can't find a player that presses less than him. His tackles are in the bottom 10%. This is just for forwards, obviously, not even for midfielders or anything like that. His interceptions are in the bottom 28%. His blocks are in the bottom 6%. When you look at the sort of the front foot defending that attackers and strikers are expected to do at the top level these days, he's nowhere near. He's absolutely nowhere near. And when you compare him to someone like, let's pick someone at random, Anthony, his interceptions are in the top 1%. His tackles are in the 50th percentile. His blocks are in the top 25%. This is an attacker, this is a forward that will defend on the front foot. I mean, I don't have to sit here and explain to you why Cristiano Ronaldo isn't particularly a modern striker. So let's have a look at some of the positives. He put in arguably the greatest single season performance I've ever seen from a Manchester United player in 2008. Won as a Premier League, won as a Champions League. He's probably the best player of all time, certainly the most versatile player of all time. I think you could put him in any squad in history and he would be the best player in that team, other than maybe that Barcelona team because of the way they played. In the air, left foot, right foot, he's just an absolute incredible player, as good as there's ever been, and no one is denying that. And him coming back in that Newcastle game, it felt as though we were on the way to something special there. Unfortunately, it didn't work out second time around for Cristiano Ronaldo. And I think it is time for him to move on. But it's obviously a shame to see it. But again, Ten Hag, respect to him, said, I want to see Cristiano Ronaldo before I make a judgment. Yes, he's not my typical type of player. Yes, statistically in the past, he's not been one that's been willing to run and put the defensive work in like I would expect from a modern striker. But I'll give him a go. I want to see what he's made of. Unfortunately, he's seen it, and we've got an aging player that seemingly isn't capable of doing what is needed from Ten Hag, and I think that's fair enough. But it is time to move on for Cristiano Ronaldo. As sad as that may be, I think everyone can see that that's probably for the best. And you see there the sort of the host of clubs that might be willing to take him. Some more realistic than others, but again, it's a shame to see him go. But I think now is probably the time. Let's move on to this other story then. Half-time against Manchester City. Reports coming out that Bruno Fernandes and Lisandro Martinez were screaming at the rest of the Manchester United squad at half-time. Bruno Fernandes and Lisandro Martinez, this is from The Express, led the half-time Manchester United inquest at the Etihad Stadium on Sunday after both players were heard screaming and shouting in the away dressing room at the interval, reports claim. Erik Ten Hag's side was shaken to their core by a relentless and rampant Manchester City side that blew them away without presenting United with a chance to respond. Apparently, Fernandes and Martinez were heard shouting in the away dressing room at the break as they attempted to rally their teammates. They are alleged to have accused their colleagues of lacking belief, something that had proved central to their unexpected first half collapse behind enemy lines. It's good to see, isn't it? And it doesn't really surprise you, that does it? When you just look on the pitch, who are the most vocal players? Bruno Fernandes has been one of, if not the most vocal player at Manchester United since he came in. Obviously now wearing the captain's armband when Harry Maguire is on the bench as well. Lisandro Martinez, ever since he's come in, has been screaming, shouting, chest bumping, fist pumping everyone whenever any of the defence make a tackle. It makes sense that these would be two vocal players in the dressing room. And obviously, at that point, it's too little too late. But it is nice to see that these players go into the dressing room, grab people by the scruff of the neck, maybe metaphorically, maybe literally, and we come out in that second half, and even though they were fruitless and in terms of points, scoring 3 goals at the Etihad is still a decent thing to do. It's a response that has left pretty much every United fan that I've spoken to hurt, but not destroyed by that performance, by that result. Obviously, conceding 6 goals is awful. Doing it against Manchester City is awful. But a 6-0 is so much different in terms of how much confidence you lose, in terms of how frustrated and annoyed the fan base is, in terms of how difficult it is to pick yourself up from that performance. It's so much different to a 6-3. And the fact that United sort of won the second half, obviously City was sitting back and they made some changes, is a testament to the fact that, you know, this time last season when we played Manchester City and we lost 2-0, and it looked as though the second half United gave up, that was the hardest thing to come back from as a fan, and seemingly as players as well. We gave up in that game. In this game, they didn't give up. And in the last few minutes of the game, United scoring 2 goals, it looked like they could have scored more. That is a massive difference and something you can build on, where even a 2-0 that was as demoralising and awful as the one last season was, you don't have those things. So it's a good sign. And again, a very small sliver of optimism to take from what was otherwise a dreadful day. That's going to be all from me this morning. Get your thoughts in the comments below. Looks like Cristiano Ronaldo will be leaving Manchester United in January should any suitable offers come in for him. Give me your thoughts on that. Give me your thoughts on the new dressing room leaders, Bruno Fernandes and Lisandro Martinez as well. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe to Stretford Paddock. We're live with every bit of news, breaking stories, watch-alongs, podcasts, every single thing you could want talking about Manchester United. So hit subscribe and you will see all of our videos. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you in a bit.